I'm Joan Goodchild for SC Media. This month, we are excited to showcase our 2024 Women in IT Security honorees. Today, I'm joined by Jess, a senior intelligence analyst at Intel 471 and one of cybersecurity's emerging leaders to watch. Known for her dedication and innovation, Ashley's led many initiatives from pioneering intelligence desks focused on AI misuse to fostering a deeper understanding of cyber threat intelligence. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me, Joan.
All right, so let's just dive right in and learn a little bit more about you and your inspiring background. First of all, tell us what inspired your shift from government work at the FBI to cybersecurity at Intel 471.
Yeah, that one's always an interesting one. Sometimes you hear it as like jumping to the dark side if you go to private security, but for me it's pretty simple. It's just life. I was moving outside of the US. I met my husband, he's Canadian, so we decided we wanted to settle up on the Canadian side of the border. So, there's limited positions available with the FBI or any US government agency outside of the US if you're moving on like a set timeline. So, I made the leap to the private sector just because of that. But for me, it was important to find somewhere, to end up where I kind of felt like I was still along a path that felt like it was still making a difference and was important work. So that was like the most intimidating part of the switch for me. But, ideally, I also wanted to keep using the cyber skills I had. So Intel 471 popped up and it was just a really natural and excellent fit for me. So don't regret it.
All right, well, let's dive into some of the work that you've done then. Can you talk about the impact of the intelligence desks that you've developed and their role at Intel's 471's operations?
Yeah, so the Intel desks originally had a goal of kind of being set up to develop a methodology for a unified production strategy across our Intel department. We have a couple different Intel departments and they all have, different assets worldwide. They have different, reporting streams that they're responsible for. So as we kind of started to really grow as a company, these different reporting streams were competing priorities. So we recognized that we needed a methodical approach to, delivering number one, high quality intelligence, but number two, specifically for, these high priority topics and also determining what are those high priority topics. So I ended up being the person that was tasked to do that. It's been a blast. But for me, kind of the key part of it is identifying, who are the key stakeholders here, both within Intel 471, but also the people that we serve, the clients that we serve. And then what are their intelligence requirements? What are our internal intelligence requirements? And then, how do we start to address those? What report types work here? What teams does this involve? How is our coverage of this topic? Where are gaps kind of deals? So from there, I build what's known as an intelligence collection plan. It's nothing, unique to Intel 471. It's a very popular tool in the analyst sphere in the Intel community. But basically, it's a centralized resource for our intelligence department. So it worked really well. Now, I brief our entire Intel department on it weekly for the different topics that I cover. So AI is one, Olympics was one, elections throughout 2024 was one as a good example. And, the insights that we really got have been awesome. We've had a really remarkable sort of team-centric group approach to these monster kind of topics. So, when it comes to the elections, we just wrapped up after the US election. And, we had nearly 100 reports that came out, across 2024 so far. And it was our first time surging on anything like this. So it was pretty successful there. We had leads from our research team that one researcher might have flagged, and then based off the weekly briefing, another researcher was like, hey, that's important in this larger realm. So helping everybody understand what piece they play in the larger puzzle has been really cool to see, our geopolitical team assessing how maybe Iran might respond to the results of the election, for example. Teams flagging the intersection between desk topics now, like elections and how that relates to AI or how AI relates to pig butchering scams, things like that. So overall, these desks and the cross-programmatic sort of team approach that we've had has become a regular feature in how we operate and how we start tackling these large cyber issues. And it's been really cool to see the product of that work.
It sounds really fascinating. Tell us about CTI 101. What is it and how has that initiative helped bridge knowledge gaps in cyber threat intelligence?
Yeah, so cyber is a really interesting field because you work alongside so many folks with different backgrounds. I myself sometimes feel like the junior in the room still to this day. But I think at its core, it's one of those fields that's really receptive to bringing in diverse hires in order to have diverse perspectives. And so CTI 101 was an effort for those junior hires, those hires that you might have picked because they excel in things like writing or critical thinking, but they might be missing some of those key aspects of, CTI or cyber threat intelligence, especially, these newer people coming in, understanding because it's such a overall in the scheme of things, brief history to have to cover. It's nice to have a tool where they can understand where this landscape started and where it's been going so they can start to assess, within context of where it might go. So it's morphed since then. I mean, it's a series of presentations, papers, and all these things, but on like the basics of things such as how dark web forums work and what were the major dark web forums in the early days of the internet and what are the major ones now. Same for marketplaces and what types of things do they offer. Some of those key aspects of CTI they may not have learned yet. And it's morphed since its origins, which is cool because we've identified some of our own clients who also hire junior people who might not know the data within our own platform so they can better understand how to leverage it and help their own CTI teams. And now I run our internship program. So I have college students who are still in college, and I'm working with professors for the universities that our interns are at to identify where are the gaps in their programs. They're teaching them certain things with pen testing, but they might not know how a dark web forum works. And if they want to go into the Intel field, that is a gap that's in their lectures. So helping them utilize those resources to teach, the next generation of cyber. So it's been really cool to help them, understand the wider cyber criminal landscape, improve their vocabulary when it comes to things in the like cyber threat intelligence field specifically.
Wow, sounds like a great initiative and a great way to sort of bridge that knowledge gap. Thank you for telling us about that. In what ways do you think AI is reshaping cybersecurity? Obviously, a hot topic. We're talking about it quite a bit in the last few years, but particularly with regard to criminal activities, how is AI sort of playing out, do you think, in that space?
Yeah, I just spoke on this on a conference recently. The short answer to make it not the entire hour long to briefing that I did, but it's basically what a common phrase is it's lowering the barrier to entry for people to explore. The longer answer is more complex there and dives into, where different cyber criminal use of AI might be really shining at the moment. But specifically right now, it's with social engineering. And it's still kind of rudimentary when it comes to more technical uses in coding, but we are seeing people start to explore it. So this landscape changes literally every single day. Even within the field of cyber, which is rapidly changing, AI stands out as being rapidly evolving to a whole nother degree. So, outside of criminal use, it's technology being integrated nearly across the board. So that's also changing what cyber criminals are targeting. They're also targeting AI systems. And that brings unique challenges to cybersecurity teams. So really in that like your own landscape of your organization, but also with social engineering is really where it's starting to shine. And then it's starting to like slowly be explored for things like malware and ransomware.
Right. Again, this is the Women in IT Security Honorees program. So switching gears a little bit, what would you give for advice to women who are trying to enter the cybersecurity industry now in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, because I run the internship program, I get to talk with a lot of people who are just starting out. And I always tell them, number one, cybersecurity is a really big, wide world, and it is a-okay to not know everything. In my opinion, being a subject matter on absolutely every aspect of the field is impossible. It's an impossible ask. So, the kind of barrier there is where do you even get started, right? So I tell them, rather than, focusing on knowing absolutely every single vocab word and every single term, focus more, at least when it comes to, intel analysis, strengthening your analytical and critical thinking skills, doing things like being able to identify what a good source of information is, whether that's an article, a paper, or a person, like a subject matter expert that you can ask. Practice your analytical writing capabilities, and be able to understand the intelligence cycle so you can understand how data informs analysis and how that cycle begins again. So, and then while you're starting your career path, the other thing to really pay attention to, because it is such a wide world, is to pay attention to the things that actually interest you? What actually captures your interest? Because it's almost a guarantee that there's somebody researching some aspect of that field. And usually they're very happy to talk to you about their research. So that way you can slowly start to specialize and network and explore that kind of niche of the wider realm of cyber. Cyber's not going anywhere anytime soon. You'll have plenty of time if you start to focus on one and you go, just kidding, I think this is interesting, or even both, you'll find a lot of overlap between different topics. So it is a really great field to get into. And, it might seem intimidating at first, but overall, you'll find that most people are very welcoming and happy to talk about their experience and their research and give tips and tricks. So, yeah.
Well, that is all of our time for today. I want to thank Ashley for joining us today. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
And thanks to you, all of you, for watching. Please take the time to look around the site and find out about some of our other honorees this year and their inspiring stories. For now, on behalf of SC Media, I'm Joan Goodchild. Have a great day.